You were not born on accident. The day, the hour, the moment your lungs first met air, it was a declaration, a signature written by the universe itself. Presence remains. You entered the world with a timestamp, a cipher, a clue. And while the world has trained you to overlook it, to write it off as coincidence, remains, or superstition, or trivia, the deeper truth is this: the moment of your birth was the beginning of a psychological pattern, a spiritual map, a coded invitation from the self to become who you were always meant to be. Carl Jung did not believe in accidents. He believed in synchronicity, the idea that events are connected not by cause and effect, but by meaning, that what appears random is, in fact, remains, drenched in symbolic precision, that the date you were born is not just a point on the calendar. It is a mirror reflecting the soul's trajectory. And so we begin there, with your birth, with the unseen forces that shaped your arrival, the planetary alignments, the seasons, remains, the archetypes waiting like characters backstage, because your birth month is not just when you were born. It is why you were born. So, do not let the world make you forget that. You were given a psychological fingerprint, not just DNA, just a name, but a mythic blueprint hidden beneath the surface of time. And when you decode it, your life begins to make sense in ways that break you open. January birthers carry the burden and brilliance of structure, the archetype of the mountain goat scaling impossible peaks. February children walk between worlds, minds like lightning, souls that do not fit into boxes. March arrives with the dreamers, the mystics. Presence remains, the ones who feel the suffering of the world as if it were their own heartbeat. April ignites the fires, bold, unfiltered, relentless in their will to conquer. May seeks harmony, sensual beauty, the garden in the chaos. June births communicators, architects of emotion, listeners of the soul. July is emotional depth, the family wound, the strength of gentle power. August brings the kings and queens, radiant, proud, driven by legacy. September organizes the stars, analysts of the divine pattern. October births the balance bringers, peacemakers with steel behind their smiles. November walks with death and rebirth, souls forged in shadow. And December, they carry the light of ancient wisdom, old souls born to close one year and seed the next. Each month speaks its own language. Each one carries a different calling, but none are superior. None are random. Each month of birth brings a particular tension, a psychological trial. Not just gifts, but wounds. Not just purpose, but pressure. Because the self does not awaken through ease. It awakens through conflict. Remains. Carl Jung taught that the path to individuation, the path of becoming your true self, begins when you no longer run from who you are. Presence remains, when you stop chasing other people's scripts and begin decoding your own myth. Your birth month is the doorway to that myth. Remains, and until you understand its message, you will feel misplaced, confused, unsure why the life you're building still feels like someone else's. Presence remains. The world tells you to find your passion. Jung tells you to find your shadow. The world wants you to fit in. Jung wants you to awaken. And awakening begins when you stop asking, "What do I want to do?" and start asking, "What was I made for?" Your birth month whispers the answer. To hear it, you must get quiet. You must turn inward. You must remember that you are not simply a personality. You are a pattern, a unique combination of energies that no one else can duplicate. Not in your family, not in your city, not in the whole damn world. You are unrepeatable. Presence remains, and the signature of that truth is hidden in the moment you were born. The child born in January will be tested by limitation. They are called to master discipline, to build what others fear to begin. They carry the loneliness of pioneers, not because they are unloved, remains, but because they are ahead. The mountain is not crowded at the top. February is born to challenge norms, mains, to see the world from a future that hasn't arrived yet. They are misunderstood, not because they are wrong, but because they are early. They are lightning in a world built for lamps. March enters with deep waters, souls born to dream and dissolve. to carry others through invisible currents of healing and loss. They are vulnerable to illusions, yes, but also to profound compassion. Manes. They are the ones who bring color to gray skies. And on it goes. These aren't horoscope glitches. These are archetypal imprints, psychological predispositions that shape your style of growth, your form of suffering, your flavor of calling. The key is not to use this knowledge to excuse your weakness, but to understand your path of strength. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. What is unconscious in you? Press remains. What patterns do you repeat without seeing them? What truths about your nature have you exiled, denied, rejected, because someone else told you they were inconvenient? Remains. The meaning of your birth month is not about prediction. It's about confrontation, confronting the self, the truth of who you are beneath the masks, the patterns of avoidance, the hidden hunger to be seen, not just for what you do, but for what you were born to become. And yes, there is a difference. Manes. You were not born to simply survive this life. You were not born to work, to scroll, to settle. You were born to wake up, and your soul has been leaving you clues. The question is, are you brave enough to look? You see, Manes, the real tragedy is not dying. The real tragedy is never living as yourself, never daring to follow the map inside your own soul. And most people don't conform. They bend. They mold themselves into the image of what they think is acceptable. And then they wonder why they feel dead inside. But you are here for more. You were born for a reason, a month, a moment. Presence remains. And everything since that moment has been trying to pull you back to yourself. Now is the time to answer. Presence remains. Because the first thing that must die is the illusion. The illusion of who you thought you were supposed to be. The masks you've worn to survive. The personas you built to gain love, approval, or control. These are the defense mechanisms of the ego, and they are not evil. They were built to protect you. But now, they imprison you. Carl Jung called these personas the social mask. Necessary, presence remains, but dangerous when mistaken for the self. And here's the dark truth. Most people live and die wearing them. They build entire lives on false selves, careers, marriages, reputations, all curated to avoid rejection. But beneath that performance is the real you. And it's not generic. It's not average. It's not one size fits all. It is tailored to your birth, your myth, your moment in time. To reclaim that self, you must believe again, not in some external religion, but in the sanctity of your own design. Your birth month was not a calendar accident. It was the entry point of your becoming. And when you begin to see it that way, belief stops being a motivational gimmick. It becomes sacred. You begin to walk like someone who was chosen. Let them laugh. Let them doubt you. Let them stay asleep. But you will wake up. The belief we're speaking is not soft. It is not about morning affirmations or borrowed quotes. It is a warrior's belief, not the kind that carries you through chaos, the kind that breaks generational curses, the kind that says presence remains. I am done living someone else's narrative. Your birth month, your wounds, your desires, they were given to you for a reason. The universe doesn't make prototypes. It makes originals. You are one. But the world will do everything it can to bury that truth under noise, fear, and distraction. Your job, your sacred obligation, is to dig it back up. And that begins with clarity. Clarity is the antidote to chaos. It is what cuts through confusion. And no one can give it to you. Not a guru, not a coach, not even your parents. Because clarity is not a gift. It is a confrontation. When you dare to look at yourself without filters, without excuses, without the comfort of denial, what do you see? Most people avoid that mirror. They chase clarity in external things: money, titles, attention. Real clarity only comes when you ask, who am really? Why am I here? What am I called to do with this short, brutal, beautiful life? Your birth month points the way. January asks you to lead, to endure isolation for a higher vision. February calls you to revolution, to awaken minds. March teaches surrender, not weakness, but divine trust. April demands courage, not calculation. May whispers of beauty and consistency. June speaks through words and connections. July protects the inner child. August stands in its light unapologetically. September serves through perfection. October reconciles opposites. November dies to be reborn. December births wisdom from suffering. Each of these is a compass. If you learn to read it, don't romanticize the journey. Clarity costs. It demands that you leave behind what is familiar. It will isolate you. It will strip you of false comfort. It will dismantle the narratives you've told yourself about who you are. And that is good, because real transformation never happens in comfort zones. It happens in crisis, in collapse, mains. In the moment you realize your old life can no longer hold the weight of your soul. That is the birth of vision. Vision is more than a plan. It is prophecy, remains. It is the fire in your bones that keeps burning even when no one sees it but you. It is the image of your life, fully lived, presence remains, projected from your highest self into the world. Vision is the language of the soul before it's crushed by conformity. Heger. Jung believed that the greatest burden of the child is the unlived life of the parent. Most people, without even knowing it, carry the unlived dreams, fears, and desires of their bloodlines. They mistake inherited trauma for identity, accept limitation as destiny. But vision breaks the chain. It says, I will not die with my music still in me. I will not live a life of polite regret. I will remember who I am. Do you know who you are? You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not the mistakes you made when you didn't know better. You are the one who was born in a very specific moment, with a very specific calling that no one else can fulfill. Not your sibling, not your partner, your mentor, only you. But vision alone is not enough. Purpose is what anchors it. Purpose is not a job title. It's not a social media bio. It's the intersection of your gifts, your wounds, and your birthright. It is what Jung called the individuation process, the unfolding of the true self through conscious living. And here's the paradox. Your purpose will often be revealed through your deepest pain. If you were born in a month that calls for leadership, your wound might be rejection. If you were born in a month that calls for love, your wound might be abandonment. If you were born in a month that calls for freedom, your wound might be control. These are not mistakes. They are the mythic trials of your becoming. Stop asking why life is hard. Start asking what it's trying to teach you. Because purpose doesn't just appear. It emerges when you walk through fire and come out carrying light. Yet, even with clarity, vision, and purpose, one truth remains: none of it matters without discipline. This is where most people fall. They have dreams, not habits. They have intentions, but no systems. They talk about transformation, but they don't show up for it. Discipline is what separates the mystical from the practical. It is the muscle that turns vision into reality. And the brutal truth is this: you will never become the person you were born to be without structure, sacrifice, and consistency. January teaches this better than any month. The grind, the climb, the cold silence of early work before applause. But every month contains its own version of discipline. February must be disciplined in staying true to its voice. March must discipline its emotions. April must control its fire. May must anchor its sensuality. June must focus its curiosity. July must balance giving and receiving. August must not collapse into ego. September must not drown in perfectionism. October must commit to its values. November must wield power with integrity. December must not hide its ancient sorrow. Every gift has a cost. Every birthright demands discipline. And if you refuse to pay that price, you will stay stuck, trapped, tormented by what could have been. If you choose to pay it, if you commit to walking your path fully, regardless of fear, then life itself will begin to shift. Doors open, synchronicities multiply, The world starts to respond, not to your noise, but to your truth. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And when you become aligned, when your belief, your clarity, your vision, your purpose, and your discipline all speak the same language, you become magnetic. You no longer chase destiny. You become it.